Hi, I'm Heather from booktubes, and today's things I hate in Romantasy. I'm really having a fun time going through the things I like in books and the things I dislike in books by subgenre. It lets me be more specific, and I am enjoying it. So I do think that this is something I will replicate with another subgenre. I got very sunburned yesterday, unfortunately, so I'm full of regrets and pain. And I also decided putting makeup on my skin was a bad idea, and I need this video to hopefully go live tomorrow. So here we are. These are 20 things I hate in Romantasy, and I have already done the 20 things I like if you want to watch it or haven't. So number one is enemies to sex equals love. I do not mind if you go from enemies to sex to love. I don't care where in the span of things sex enters the picture or if there is any on-page sex scenes, right? I do prefer there to be some, but ultimately you can have a beautiful romance subplot or main plot in your book, and it doesn't necessarily have to have on-page sex, right? How many times can I say sex in like the first minute of this video so YouTube doesn't like it? But I really hate when we are enemies. We are being mean to each other. We are making assumptions. We are saying things that are not true. We are misinterpreting things. We are being cruel. Maybe with cause, maybe with reason, maybe just with prejudice. Who even knows? And then instead of any sort of communication, conversation, understanding of each other's character, seeing how you interact with other people and changing your mind about your first impression of that person, instead of that, we never have that on-page emotional exploration. We just are hot for each other. We just want to have sex with each other so bad, and that changes our mind about each other's characters, and that's it. There is no other reason to have decided that you want to spend your life with this person other than they're hot. Again, I don't mind insta lust. I don't mind having sex early on in the book, in the relationship. I don't mind if they absolutely hate each other and they're working that out through hooking up. Like, all of that can work perfectly fine. It's just sex doesn't equal love. And I kind of think it's lazy writing to not have to do any of that emotional work or any of that understanding of each other or character development or any of those things, and instead just have them say mean things and kiss. I really feel like it's a cop-out, and it leaves me really wanting more. Maybe that's because I do fall on the scale of demisexuality, so maybe part of my reluctance for that is that I'm not finding you attractive if you are actively being the worst. Like, I'm not doing that. And I'm certainly not so overwhelmed with lust that you can win an argument just because you're hot. No, I'm mad. I am mad right now. Are you kidding me? You and your hotness are doing nothing to deter my anger. And one thing about me that you all probably don't know all that much, because obviously you only see me in videos, I'm an arguer, okay? I am going to get in a verbal altercation with you. I'm gonna be in a fight, and I'm gonna score points in that fight, okay? Some would say perhaps I'm a little bit mean. Like, I am right, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm right, and I'm also gonna tell you why you're wrong. And I am not walking away from that ready to bang you. I'm walking away from that and stewing for a little bit, having some alone time, thinking about it, and then eventually I'm gonna get over it later that day or the next couple days. I don't hold on to being angry for a particularly long time, but in the moment we are having a verbal altercation, we are fighting. I'm not like, oh dang, all of your points are bad and my points are right, but you're just so hot, so I'll let you have this one. I'm not letting you have Jack. I'm not letting you have anything. I have bulletproof points on why I'm correct, and in everything that you say, my mind is immediately like, okay, all right, well, what about? Yeah, that's just, it's not working for me. I want there to be some sort of reason why, if they started out enemies, why there was a reason why they didn't like each other or didn't trust each other, perhaps. And then I want to see trust built before or after sex, doesn't matter, but I want to see trust built and feelings built. Number 2, the slowest of starts, much like this video. It is avoidable. I'm sorry, it is. Just because it's a fantasy doesn't mean that the beginning has to be boring. It doesn't. I love a slice of life, contemporary or fantasy, right? If I love your character work, and this I think is key, if you are making me care about this character so much, I do not care if we are watching them cut tomatoes, if we are watching them plant a seed. I don't mind if we are watching them train. I don't mind if we are watching them go about their daily life. You can make that interesting. It doesn't mean you have to introduce action on page 1, but I should not be several chapters and 50 pages and 100 pages and 200 pages into this book and still just feel like we're trudging through molasses uphill both ways, not caring about anybody or anything, because what are we doing? I don't feel like it's necessary for fantasy. I think a lot of people use the excuse that it's common in fantasy, and that's what it is. It's an excuse. You can intrigue me from page 1, and it doesn't have to mean that you are slicing and dicing people up on page 1. Number 3, a clueless, reckless, weak main character. I can appreciate character growth as much as the next person, but when I am kind of rooting for you to die, I'm kind of like, can the worm just eat her at this point? Like, let's move on to a different character. She was a red herring. She died in chapter 1 and we all cheered. And then we actually found this person over here. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I don't, because I'm not having a good time. I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed that you are taking unnecessary risks, that the author is spelling everything out for you and the reader, and you are not able to read. They're spelling it out, and you're like, that won't stop me. I can't read. Like, please. And I don't like a weak main character. And by this, I can sometimes mean like power, right? They don't have any power, they don't have any social currency, they're not able to make anything happen or to stop anything from happening. But also, I don't like a main character who doesn't know who they are or what they stand for or who they believe or how they're going to get from this question to this answer. I want a main character who at least knows themselves, who has opinions about the world around them. Number 4, cruelty. It doesn't matter who it's from. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't like trauma porn. I don't like, awful things happening for the point of them being awful. I don't like people being cruel because they enjoy it. I don't enjoy reading it. It bothers me a lot. It bothers me a lot, and it can definitely ruin my day in the real world, and that's not what I want for my hobby. Number 5, characters making choices that don't make sense for their character. You have established that this is the way this character thinks, and now you are contradicting yourself. You have established that your character is usually cautious, and now at the most dangerous point of their life, they're like, actually, what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is you and everybody you know dies. Did you ever think about that? Because let me tell you something about being anxious and cautious. You don't suddenly decide to take a risk on the life-threatening moment. You don't decide to see if you can walk a tightrope on a cliff. You don't. That's not what you're gonna do. This character is always really smart, but they are faced with someone with the ability to kill them and they decide to mouth off. Make that make sense, right? This character doesn't trust this person or this group of people or whatever it is, and then with absolutely no proof and plenty of other options, they do choose to trust an unknown entity. Doesn't make sense. I think really dislike this later on in the book, right? Where it's like, why would they do that? Because we haven't had anything that indicated that that is their type of character, or that that is their relationship with this person, or that they would think that this was a good idea. So why are we doing this? Because a lot of times it feels very contrived for the plot, and it feels like it's going against the character that you, the author, wrote. You're the one that made us think all these things about this person. So why are you literally going against everything that you said? I don't like that. Number 6, main character doesn't know / understand the rules. This is like the Fae lying, or, you know, court politics, or the society, whatever it is, when they are making careless mistakes, when they are breaking rules that everybody should have known to follow, right? It's like if a character comes up to you and is like, I'm a good guy, you can trust me. And then they were lying the whole time. And you were like, oh, how are you lying? I trusted you. And then you feel betrayed by that. You're the naive person who trusted them in the first place with no reason other than they said that they were good and you should trust them. That doesn't mean anything. Or it's like they know not to make a bargain with the Fae, and then a Fae is like, come with me and I'll solve all your problems. And they're like, well, I don't see any loopholes here. Let's do it. And then they go with the Fae, and then they're shocked and surprised when that doesn't work out to their benefit. I just like that. I just like that a lot, because you know the rules of your world, right? Of your society. You know not to walk in front of a car. You know when you can walk in front of a car, and you know when to be surprised that you got hit by a car. Number 7, the love interest is dense, can't see what's in front of their face, and more importantly, cannot get over their first impression, especially of the main character. This, to me, speaks very poorly of them. It really does. Because what do you mean you're holding on to the prejudice that you had for them, or that first impression, or just assuming that they would be dumb and naive and airheaded, right? Or assuming that they are deceptive. You assumed that they were deceptive before you ever saw them. Now you spent all of this time with them never lying, them never deceiving. They have been nothing but honest and truthful and trustworthy. And we are so far down the road and you're still like, I can't trust you. I don't think that speaks well of them. I really don't. And if you're going to have a love interest who is supposed to be like this dream person, you know, the one that is going to live happily ever after with this main character, I feel like they need to at least be flexible enough and perceptive enough and smart enough to see what's in front of their eyes, to see what type of person they're dealing with over a certain amount of time. You know, it doesn't have to be within a day, but I don't think it can be so many instances of being proven wrong and never letting go and never admitting that you could have been wrong in the first place, especially again over like a first impression. Number 8, betraying trust. I really just do not like this. I really don't like it, because once trust is broken, you know, can you ever really get it back? I think you can, to a certain extent, over time, over, you know, a long period of time of just never betraying that trust again. I think to a certain extent you can, depending on what the original broken trust was, right? But trust is not the same once it's broken. It's hard to get back. Like, trust is just so valuable and so fragile. And I want to be able to trust my romantic partner. I want to be able to trust my family, right? My support system, those closest to me. I want to be able to trust them, that they have my best interests at heart, that they believe me, that they know me, that they care about me. Those aren't things I want to be questioning all the time. Like, I just would rather not be involved with you at all than be constantly wondering if you're in my corner, if you're someone I can rely on. So I don't think it's good in books for the two people that you're saying are going to end up together forever to betray each other's trust. It's one thing, I think, for it to be at the beginning of your relationship and they let you down or they didn't do something that you thought that they should do. But we're talking like you have established trust with them, you have put trust in them, and they just completely betray it. How are you supposed to get that back? I can't think of a single book that really does it super well to bring that back. Number 9, pale imitations of character types. If I can sum up all of your character work, all of the character development you did around one of these prominent characters, right? They are on page. They have the main character, the love interest, the family, the friends, the villain, it doesn't matter, but they're on page a lot. If I can summarize everything about them in just a couple sentences, he was a dark, tall, morally gray, burn the world down, touch her and die prince. And that's all he's got. There's no more depth to it than that. That's just it. It's just that surface level. You know, she's an assassin who doesn't trust anybody and everybody wants to sleep with her. We don't get any of those conversations. We don't get any of that relationship building between them and the side characters. We don't get any just depth on how they think and how they feel and what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it and how they would find it acceptable to accomplish those goals. I really don't like the pale imitation, and to me that is always a sign of bad writing because, and I think again part of it is because I'm a very character driven reader. Your character can be cooking potatoes, and if I like that character and they're talking to their friend or their love interest or their mom while they're cooking potatoes and it's an interesting, insightful, funny, thoughtful, you know, what have you, it can be many different tones of conversation, then I'm happy watching them talk while cooking potatoes. That's the truth. And then if I don't care about this character at all and they're doing backflips and slicing people's throats, I'm a little bit bored because I don't care about them. And they are just a random caricature, a paper cutout, doing backflips and wielding a knife. Number 10, torture. So I don't like torture. I don't like torture scenes. I don't like my main character having been tortured. I don't like my love interests have been tortured. I don't like finding them after they're tortured. I really don't like watching a torture scene. I don't like it. I hate it. I understand that torture is common in war. It's common in bad governments. It is part of human nature. It is something that we do because if everyone agreed that it was always wrong and never acceptable, it would have never happened, right? And yet it does consistently happen. So people do torture, but I don't like it. Maybe that's a hot take. Number 11, two-dimensional friends. I beg of you, if you are going to write a friend character, they must be more than you got this, girl. I just want to feel like they are a well-rounded character, like they're a whole person. And my favorite authors, whether it's Romantasy or otherwise, my favorite authors do this well and they have you caring about a large cast of characters, which I find so impressive. And they don't even have to have a lot of page time. They just have that skill to make you care about this person and to feel like they matter and are important and have their own life, and also their relationship to the main character and love interests hold value there. Number 12, other people / caste systems / class / prejudice / rulers not allowing the relationship. I absolutely despise every single time. I'm never gonna like it. I'm never gonna be okay with it. I'm always gonna be mad about it. I hate when anyone outside of the relationship gets to have a say in whether or not that relationship happens. I do not like it. It triggers me. I won't even lie. It triggers my religious trauma and I do not have a good time. Number 13, we're in love. When did this happen? Because I was reading this book and I have reading comprehension and I was watching y'all's interactions and we were together and I did not see us fall in love. What are we talking about right now? Since when? But most importantly, why? why do we love this person? Because to me, the why, the when, the how, these are the most important things of a romance. So what do you mean we're in love? What do you mean? Number 14, terrible families. I never enjoy this. I don't like this in any subgenre. I don't like this in any setting. I just dislike it, especially if the entire family is terrible. But I actually think it's much more interesting, especially in a romantasy setting, especially with royalty and nobility and, you know, having inheritance and rulers and power struggles, this type of thing. I actually think it's just much more interesting to have pretty average people on the evil versus good scale. Like, you and your siblings are all pretty average. You don't absolutely despise each other, but you don't really love each other because you know you're in competition with one another, and you are actually in a power struggle with other people who aren't drastically worse for the country, who aren't super abusive, who aren't psychopaths on a power trip or narcissists who enjoy torturing people. You know, like, I feel like a lot of times it's our main character who wants nothing but the best for everyone. They are so good and pure it hurts, versus literally the worst person you've ever met. I think that you don't have to have it be those extremes, and I feel like those extremes can be pretty overdone sometimes and kind of not interesting because of it. So I think it's more interesting to just have an average person, but who is maybe clever, right? You have a couple of clever people, a couple of people doing strategies. It is like a game of chess. If you know anything about Cleopatra, she was in a power struggle with her brother and her sister. And I find that to be interesting, especially like the assassination attempts and the executions that have to happen, because there's going to be a whole subsect of people who are going to prop anyone with a claim to the throne up at the head of their army to try and overtake your country. So you can't allow your competition to live. That's such a very common thing with royal families throughout history, that I think that it's more interesting in a fantasy setting when we have that, when we have a struggle, and for whatever reason, maybe again trust, maybe just the politics of the country and the different power players who are trying to use you or someone else to head their cause, you can't allow each other to live. But it's not I'm all good and you're all bad. Number 15, isolated main characters. When the main character has no one in their corner, no support system whatsoever, no one that they can trust, especially if it goes on for more than like the very beginning of the book. I find that so upsetting. And I'm not even like a particularly social person. I don't need a big social network at all. And it's still like, you need somebody. You cannot be completely isolated. And I really dislike when they have no one. They don't have any older people. They don't have anyone their own age. They don't have anyone their own status. They don't have anyone who can give them advice, who cares about them, who they can have any sort of conversation with. Their only connection is to the love interest. And especially I think a lot of times with these isolated main characters, it is like an enemies to lovers arc, or he's like very cruel to her at the beginning. So not only does she not have anyone, but the only person that we're seeing her have a connection with is treating her horribly. Number 16, oppressive systems. I know. I know it's a staple. I know it's realistic. I know that many times it's supposed to speak to a larger conversation. I actually do really like when we use a made up thing like prejudice against magic users, right? Because there are no magic users in the real world. So the oppression of a magic user is not something that we actually have as a social issue. So I like when you use something made up to illustrate the disparity and the prejudice and reasons to hate someone or to oppress someone, right? Obviously, if you are speaking about racism, you're going to have a lot of people who are racist, whether they are willing to admit it or not, talking about how, well, I'm not racist, but they're actually like that. And it's difficult to argue with them in a way that will actually have them change their mindset, which is kind of the goal, right? If you were to bother arguing with them. But I think that sometimes, especially with young people, you can kind of get them in the correct, and certainly doesn't work for everybody. Certainly not like the end all be all, but you can get people thinking about their real life social structure through fictional things. And I like when we do that. But I don't love always reading about the member of the oppressed class who is going to end up being the revolutionary spark to change the government. I don't like it every single time. The actual issues are so very real, but the stories that we get are so often copy and paste. Number 17, we know more than the main character. Obviously, this can work, but I just generally dislike it. I am annoyed when I know the answer and you don't, and we're just sitting here looking at each other and I know the answer and I'm just waiting for you to know the answer also, and now I'm waiting many hundreds of pages for you to figure out the answer that I knew way back when. I'm not a patient person in that sense. I don't enjoy that. If we know that this person is betraying the main character rather know that they're betraying them. And truthfully, again, I really like for my characters to know more than I do. I enjoy that. I enjoy that reveal when the character knew all along and I didn't. Number 18, the friend that really just wants to be the lover. I don't like this for the love interest. You know, when they have a friend that they're like, no, we're just friends. And it's like, buddy, open your eyes. But I really don't like this for the main character either. Maybe I just dislike it because that's not the friend. Right? That's not a friend. I believe that a friend can be someone who wouldn't mind getting in your pants, but it cannot be their ultimate end goal. It cannot be what they're actually around for. It can't be the only reason that they like you. Don't enjoy it at all. Number 18, super evil king. This is another one where it's just done so much. And it's like, yeah, power corrupts. And never being told no, never being told that you're wrong, having the power to always get your way is going to make you an insufferable person. Somehow it never happens to the main character and love interest, but nonetheless, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I understand that the person with the most power might not be a very good person, but I don't think that they have to be these extremes either. Sometimes I think the king could just be a little bit incompetent. Maybe just not like your favorite person, but also not literally a devil. And lastly, number 20, trials. I don't love them. I don't. I think, again, some of it is just, it's so very copy and paste. I don't think it needs to be. Not that I am clever enough to come up with something on my own, but still, like, I don't think it needs to be quite as formulaic as it usually is. The thing is, if I loved the formula, it would be okay that it was formulaic, right? But I don't really love the formula, so every time I see it, I am more inclined to being annoyed by it or to quitting because I don't actually like it all that much to start with, and then it's not doing anything interesting or unique or fun with it. So those are the 20 things that I hate about romantasy books. Let me know what yours might be. Let me know if you agree or strongly disagree with any of mine. And like I said, I already did the things I like. At some point, I would like to do this for some other subgenres as well. So if you have suggestions for that, let me know. Thanks so much for watching. Bye. Also, wear your sunscreen.